Good morning. Happy Monday. From time to time, we all get a little bit cynical. From time to time, the misanthropic side of our nature comes out. I'm no different than anyone else. I'm not making excuses for it. In fact, it is a constant struggle to have a humanistic perspective for me. Not a big fan of our species, and while we've done many great, laudable things, we've also done, I think, more to destroy life on Earth than any other species, most likely. We don't know that for sure. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about evolution. Evolution is a process, it's not a theory, it's not an idea that should be taught in conjunction with creation theory, because creation theory is based on myth. Evolution is based on fact. It's probably not the absolute truth. However, there are some true tenets that it has. And one of those is having to do with the survival of our species. The survival of our species and the main goal, biological goal of human existence has to do with producing offspring and reproducing. Everything else, in a great sense, centers around that. So this is really what evolution for us is all about. From that, I like Donald Hoffman's work. I won't go into it. You can look him up here on YouTube and watch a number of his lectures. In fact, probably our reality may not be real at all and is shaped by that basic tenet. Human beings have a drive to reproduce, and that is our main drive. That is what we exist for. So, with that in mind, I look at what's going on now with this virus. It's not the smart people who will survive necessarily. It's the ones who want to reproduce, probably. Now that seems odd because it is smart or common sense for us to shelter ourselves and practice social distancing and all those things. However, we had to kind of tell each other that. We kind of had to, in a sense, socially enforce it with just the pressure of that. There are those people who are seemingly greatly addicted to their traveling lifestyle, to their outdoors lifestyle, to their intimate social contact lifestyle of hanging out with other people all the time and being in large groups in close proximity. And with this current crisis and pandemic, we see that those practices cause the spread of the disease and fatalities. We also see that most fatalities happen to people between the ages of 45 and up. Most fatalities are in that age group, with the 65 plus age group leading with the large number of deaths. So in a sense, the disease is selecting against longevity and against people who have, because of our medical acumen, been able to survive beyond the age of effective reproduction. Well into 70s, 80s, and 90s, when a century ago we weren't near that in our survival rates and our longevity. So today we have a case where people who have some pretty dire pre-existing conditions live well beyond their expectations would be without the medicine and the preventative measures that we have today. So, in a sense, because we were, in general, very ill prepared for this pandemic, in a sense, now we are dying in great numbers because of it. Because our survival was not paramount in all of our age groups. Pretty amazing how this simple fact of evolution comes to play. So, us old people, and I'm a senior, I'm 67 years old, we hunker down. We're hiding out. We're staying away from other people. We are not going out. We're having food delivered, a lot of us. Some of us are very old and in nursing homes where the proximity to others is too close for comfort. And there's thousands of people in those homes dying because of it. And that's sad. And what's really sad to me is that a lot of younger people, and let's face it, when I was young, I thought I was bulletproof, that I could do anything. Consequently, I got in a lot of accident-related situations which could have caused my death on more than one occasion, on many occasions, actually. However, I did survive, and I did inadvertently reproduce. I had no desire to reproduce, did not want to have children. I have a son. He was born, conceived out of wedlock, which I had a moral problem with for many years. I don't anymore. I don't care about that. He has children. So my biological purpose was fulfilled inadvertently. This just goes to show me how that tenet about evolution strikes home in many cases. So what we're seeing is that the young have the greatest potential to survive. And that some of the older folks who have good care, who have a strong immune system, survive also. Probably most of us older people who have that great fortune will not reproduce, and the younger people will reproduce. The ones with immunity may pass on the proclivity to have immunity to this particular disease. There will be other diseases. There will be other pandemics. We're not prepared. As most of us have finally got the idea, our society is not, and by the way, we don't have a culture. We are a society comprised of many different subcultures. And it still amazes me. I'm going to take off on a little tangent here. It still amazes me how people thought that America was such a great country. We're just so great. We're so wonderful. We're the great lands of opportunity. When in actuality, this country was built on the back of slaves, cheap labor, and the exploitation of those in lesser economic states. So this country is not great because of that. This country is a process of inequality founded in capitalism, which borders on almost a modern day type of feudalism. Yeah, you can do the research and read and listen to all the economists if you wish. However, this is where we're at. And despite all of these negatives, people are living longer. There's less poverty in the world. There's better disease control, despite all of this. And what is that allowing? It's allowing people to reproduce more effectively. People are having more and more children. There's more people in the world than there ever was. I don't know. I don't have the figures on the birth rate, whether it's gone up or static or there. That's a pretty wide frequency distribution on all of that data. I don't have it. I know in this country, less people, younger people, are having children now than before. That is true. This is why we need immigrants. We need immigrants because of our economy. And they reproduce. So there you go. There's kind of the biological handwriting on the wall. There it is. Now, those of you who don't like my cynicism about social Darwinism, because when you look at this, I posted something that was a misquote, concocted quote of Darwin, which says it's okay not to quarantine. Well, no, it's not okay. No, it's not. And I have a close friend who has now dissed me because of this and dissed me for other reasons, which have to do with a type of relationship that she contemplated for she and I, which in a long distance situation, there is no such relationship except friendship. So my cynicism about social Darwinism and it's not okay to quarantine. Well, there's a lot of these maggots, the Make America Great delusioned wonders of the world, who we don't like them. I don't like them. I don't respect their thinking and opinion, even though they have a right to it. And it's hard for me to want to defend the right for them to exist. So it's very tough in my misanthropic side to look at them and not wish them an untimely demise. However, the problem with that thinking, and I will slay my own thinking in this area, is that what did they do? These people go out, they congregate in protests, which they have a right to. It's their Fourth Amendment right. They congregate in these protests. They slaver over each other. They bring their firearms and they're adamant, we're going back to work, open the state, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's going to be up to the governors and the businesses who want to do that. And it has to be done not in the way that they hope it will be done, which is just a full-blown reopening of everything, because you know what? This is just not that serious. It's overblown. It's a hoax. And you've got a ranting, raving buffoon who is influencing these people's opinions and thinking. Anyway, it's very tough for me not to wish for their demise. The problem with their demise is that they go out, they congregate, they contract the virus, and then they bring it to innocent people. They bring it to people who don't deserve to perish from this. They infect unsuspecting, innocent people in their own families and social circles. Now, there may be some people who are unable to shun them and push them away in the family or social circle. Not able to. They just don't have the boundaries. They just don't have the wherewithal. They just don't have the common sense to be able to say, hey, look, you went out, you got in a crowd, you're not welcome with us here. You're not. You have to quarantine yourself away from us. Well, that makes them more mad, and then they want to rebel even further. And this is just that basic, immature rebelliousness that people have. Despite the fact that the vast majority, it seems, from polls that have been taken and questioning that's been going on with the population, and most people support not going back to work right away because they realize it's dangerous. And why do they realize it's dangerous? Probably because of the underlying biological fact that many want to survive, to reproduce, or want their offspring to be able to reproduce. They don't want it maybe consciously, but unconsciously, as the biology of the species seeks its own continuance, this is what's going on. Anyway, I ran a lot about this, and yes, I don't want these knuckleheads who are out there clamoring for the economy to reopen so they could go back to work. Well, I want them to go back to work. I want them to make money and contribute to the economy because it's good for everybody. However, their behavior, they deplore the liberal behavior. They're always constantly berating and making ad hominems about people with liberal thinking and beliefs, whereas liberals probably don't do it as much. Liberals just probably, I would say that we are exempt from this. We do it. We're just as bad at this in many respects as they are. But now is not a time to just go after these people or any people and criticize. Now is a time to just say, hey, look, who are you affecting? What are you doing? What are the chances of survival? Thing of it is, these people that are going out and doing this stuff, a lot of them are going to get sick. People that are going to the beaches and not maintaining a self-distance, a lot of them are going to get sick. People who are going out in public and not exercising the utmost of care are going to get sick. Not all of them. I mean, let's say there's an 8%, that's what it's looking like. There might be an 8% infection rate for the number of tests that have been done. Okay, it doesn't sound like a big number. Well, what is 8% of 325 million people? That's millions of people. Okay, it's 26 million people roughly. Okay, so let's say that 2% of them get the virus. Okay, let's just say 2% of them get the virus and die. So what's 2% of 26 million? That's 1.3 million people. That's more people than die from tobacco-related illness, than die from heart problems, that die from auto accidents, that die from the wars we've been in the last 20 years, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on down the list. Now, these are invalid comparisons. They're falsely equivalent. So, because what we're looking at now, 40,000 people died in about 3 months. 3 months. Out of a infection rate that we've tested of over 760,000, something like that. So these are the facts and the figures. And if you're denying them, something's wrong. If you're thinking that you don't have an 8% chance of getting sick, especially if you're like some of these people, they're over 40. Their chances of getting sick are a little bit greater. We're still, what if they bring it home and they give it to other people who are asymptomatic throughout their infection, or who have a great amount of viral shedding during their pre-symptomatic period? They could infect several people. One person could infect several people, and we just know the geometric progression from there. So, I don't have much respect for that thinking. It's dangerous to us all. And while I'd like to see these people perish, that's really not what I want. And if you think that's what I want, despite my dislike of these people and their thinking, you're wrong. I want them to survive so we can all survive. I want them to survive so we can make this a better world. And we don't need their help, except in this. Anyway, I've ranted long enough today. I think it's about 18 minutes now.